Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host this morning. Thank you so much for joining us here. I know yesterday was a little bit of a short live. I had an early morning appointment that I had to get to, but I was glad I was at least able to you know, get the show done. And I also want to send another shout out to our brother, Marcel Dixon, Greg Marcel Dixon, for joining us on Mighty Men Thursday. And I will be reposting that interview on X, Facebook, and also YouTube. So, happy Friday, everyone. This is our Prayer with Friday. We do not have a special guest, so I will be doing the prayer today on Friday. And sometimes that happens. I'm looking forward to having, some other special guests come on to do our Prayer with Friday segment. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. So it has been quite a week. There's been so much information going on. I know there's been a lot going on with the Epstein files, and then, we're finding out other things from Tulsi Gabbard about Barack Obama, and it's wild, But there are times when we have these types of news cycles. But I just want to encourage everyone when you kind of see all of the craziness going on, take a breath, stop for a minute, and really ask yourself, why are we being so distracted right now? What could be going on that we might have to pay attention to, right? That is going to affect our day to day lives. Because I'm not saying the Epstein files aren't important. I'm not saying what's going on with Barack Obama isn't important. I'm just saying it's not something, if for me, if it's not affecting the economy, I'm like, okay, we can deal with it, but I don't want it to take up so much space that we're really not staying focused on what's most important, right? And that's the thing. It's like staying focused on what's most important. And I know I had a little bit of a tinfoil hat moment a couple of days ago with this whole situation in New York with these scooter bandits. That's all I can really say. They're scooter bandits. And how I made this suggestion, I was like, how did somebody with a scooter, okay, find an ICE agent in the park specifically, knowing what time they were going to be there, where they were going to be, and try to rob them and then shoot at them? Like, none of it made sense to me. So I was like, yeah, and I said, tinfoil hat moment, you know, I think this could be a hit of some sort because it really didn't make a lot of sense how it happened. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. I found this video. I'm going to play this for you guys.
Anything about him? They said an agent was shot on a rock in Central Park.
Yeah, I have a problem with this, and maybe this is just, I don't believe in coincidences. Mm-hmm. And there has been a concentrated effort to out ICE agents. And for two men, grown-ass men, to get on a scooter, to go riding in a park with guns, to go rob, that doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah. But two guys looking to make a hit on somebody, that makes sense to me. So and there's just, how random is that?
Yeah.
How many millions of people we have in New York walking around there, and these two illegals just happen to stumble upon a guy who just happens to be an off-duty officer? It's a hit, in my opinion, and we're lucky that he was able to get through. But I would like to see the same vigor from our so-called government investigations that they're doing with this Epstein and whatever Barack Obama did 10 years ago. I don't give a damn about any of that. That's not a table issue for me and my family. Right now, my table issue is our police officers and our border agents are under attack. We have senators and congressmen who are demanding they take their masks off so they can see their face, so they can expose their families. So I don't see we meant well at all.
Yeah.
You know, there's that old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, we need to start sending some of these people to hell.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Interesting, right? Because he was saying the same thing I just said. I'm like, Epstein and Barack, they're really not going to put food on my table. So what are we doing? But he also alluded to, he was like, that's not random. These two people riding around in the park with guns on a scooter, what it does is it makes them unassuming, right? Because you're not going to assume anybody is going to just roll up on anyone to try to make a hit. You know what I'm saying? Look, it was very calculated. And before, Tyree came in with his uh, feedback, Gutfeld had actually asked him, he was like, this is kind of random with these, the people on the scooters and, how they even get them, well, what are we doing? But he also alluded to the fact that he was like, they didn't mention their ethnicity. They didn't mention their status, whether they were here illegally or if they were legal citizens. And those are the things we have to pay attention to in the news with certain outlets. And that's why I use all sides, because again, it tells it perspective from all sides. It gives you the titles from all sides. It lets you know what's going on. But it's like, yeah, they didn't say who these people were on the scooter. They just said that there was a random attack on an ICE officer. And I'm like, yeah, they're trying to normalize this. It's really sad. Hey, Dr. C, thanks for joining this morning and reposting the stream. But yeah, they're really trying to normalize this happening. And see, the thing about New York, and I didn't play the entire video, it was like 5 minutes, but they were talking a lot about these scooters, is that because they couldn't get driver's licenses, to get them cars and different things, they gave them scooters. And when they stopped giving them scooters, they just started stealing the scooters. they just started taking them. It's really time to crack down. And it's very sad because now we actually have some attorney generals around the country filing lawsuits. So let's check out this video.
Democrats-led states are suing the Trump administration in a push to restore taxpayer funded benefits, I should say, for illegal migrants. Reporters Czar Tom Homan is here. He'll react to that in moments. But first, Griff Jenkins has more on this from the White House. So, Griff, what is their plan exactly?
Well, so Sandra, these 21 AGs, all from Democrat-led states, are suing the Trump administration to restore taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens. Benefits, by the way, paid for by you, the American people. Now, this lawsuit, led by New York's Letitia James, comes after several federal...
Okay, I have to stop it there. I don't know in my lifetime where I have seen more people fighting for criminal activity just blatantly out in the open. And this isn't like it's coming from some small NGO. These are actually attorney generals. These are lawyers, y'all. They were lawyers before they became attorney generals, because it's a voted in position, it's an elected position. And they're fighting for illegal aliens. They're not fighting for the American people that are suffering. They're fighting for criminal activity, as if we're all supposed to just go along with this and be okay with this. This is crazy. All these attorney generals, and I'll try to find the document. We need to make sure that they do not get reelected and that they actually go to prison for violation of Title 8, Section 1324. They're aiding and abetting criminal behavior, period. They are all violating federal law, demanding that the federal government help these people. This is crazy. This is truly insane. Like, this is upside down town, on steroids.
Agencies announced earlier this month they're cutting undocumented immigrants' access to more than a dozen health and education programs.
It's nothing more than an attempt by this administration to terminate programs that millions of individuals have relied upon in order to advance his cruel immigration policies. It is unconscionable, it's unconstitutional, it's in violation of the law, and that is why we are seeking an injunction against the implementation of this.
Now, the Trump.
Okay. That is gaslighting 101. She literally sat there and said it's in violation of the Constitution. Actually, there's nowhere really in the Constitution that talks about this. And it's crazy. Like when some political officials, that's the first thing they want to run to. It's in violation of, really? Read it. Read it. Because you're in violation of the Constitution. Actually, you're in violation of a complete federal law. Complete federal law. Stop it. I am really looking forward to her not being reelected. And I don't even live in New York. I'm just looking forward to her being gone and in prison for even saying those words. But hey, this is great. You're not covered by the speech and debate clause. Nope. There's no coverage for you. You are outwardly admitting to aid and abet criminals that are here illegally. Title 8, Section 1324. It's time to go. Time to go.
Administration claims by barring access to programs like Head Start, food aid, and job training for illegal aliens, they are preserving nearly $40 billion in benefits for American citizens. But these states argue the changes are causing significant disruptions already and that providers could struggle to verify the citizenship status of recipients. The National Republican Congressional Committee is blasting this lawsuit, saying, quote, "Let that sink in. Democrats are fighting in court to take your money and give it to criminals who broke our laws." But as Democrats push to restore access, they argue most federal benefits are already off limits to illegal aliens. Meanwhile, in some progressive states like California and Illinois that have state-funded health benefits for illegal aliens, they're now starting to scale those programs back due to budget shortfalls. Sandra?
All right, Griff Jenkins live at the White House on that for us. Griff, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, for more on this, let's bring in Tom Homan, the Trump administration border czar. Tom, a lot to get to in the next few minutes. But let me get you, first of all, to comment on this lawsuit brought by Letitia James and attorneys general from 20 other states.
Well, look, it's ridiculous. Letitia James, I mean, she's the attorney general of the state of New York. She's the chief law enforcement officer. She's an officer of the court. She should want ICE out there enforcing the law. And as far as, you know, I've heard for decades from the Democrats that illegal aliens don't take advantage of our social services programs. They have. I've been around a long time. This is a great move by President Trump. Number one, it ends an enticement for a lot of people to come here. And number two, taxpayer benefits should go to the United States taxpayers, not those who are in the country illegally, who entered the country illegally, which is a crime. So this is the exact thing we should be doing. I salute President Trump for pushing this.
I know, Tom, that you are very frustrated with the lack of cooperation that you're getting from law enforcement officials in New York State, in particular New York City, when it comes to ICE operations. Letitia James had this to say about New York's support for ICE operations. Listen here.
New York State and other Democratic states cooperate with ICE when it comes to criminal convictions. But when it comes to innocent individuals who serve as your nanny, who clean your home, individuals who are our neighbors, individuals who unfortunately are just trying to make ends meet each and every day.
So she's saying it's a different thing, that they're cooperating with you on criminal convictions, but other folks, not so much. But are they cooperating with you on criminal convictions?
No, they're not. She knows what she's talking about. Bottom line is we are prioritizing criminal threats and public safety threats and national security threats. We had an agreement to get into Rikers Island, and Mayor Adams, you know, signed an executive order to get into Rikers Island. Of course, the governor came down, you know, totally against it. City council sued and kept us out of there. We're on our way to some collaboration on criminals in Rikers Island, but that was shut down. But you know, they keep pushing this issue. They're helping us. No, they're not. New York City. Matter of fact, the two men who were involved with shooting the off-duty CBP officer, they both were released from NYPD precincts many times, several times. So, and look, in New York, NYPD wants to help us. The officers on the ground want to help us, but it's a sanctuary city that was created by Bill Blasio and supported by the city council that has shut us out. Letitia James is wrong. New York is not helping us with criminals.
All right. A shining example of that might be what happened with the CBP officer who was shot by an illegal alien in Fort Washington Park. Here's the rap sheet of one of the people under arrest. Christian Ayabar Baroa entered the U.S. illegally in June of 2022. New York City ignored a detainer against him. He was charged with second-degree reckless endangerment, grand larceny, petit larceny a couple of times. Despite an ICE detainer, he was released back onto New York City streets. Also charges of reckless driving, driving without a license, a final removal order of January 3rd, 2023, yet he was still out in the streets. His alleged accomplice, Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, entered the U.S. illegally April 4th, 2023, charged with grand larceny, petit larceny, reckless driving, second and third degree assault, criminal contempt a couple of times, robbery with a firearm in Massachusetts. Final order.
And see, here's the crazy thing. Both of these individuals were ordered to be removed. And if they were hired to do a hit, they have nothing to lose. That's the crazy part, you know? And, I will try to find a follow-up story to see if they're even still detained. They might not be. They might be out on the streets. We don't know.
Of removal November 6, 2024, yet he was still on the streets as well. So what does that say about this vaunted cooperation that Letitia James is talking about?
There is no cooperation. I'll use Laken Riley, for example. She may be alive today if NYPD would work with ICE, because he was arrested and charged with a crime in New York City and simply walked out of precinct. The illegal aliens who attacked NYPD officers in Times Square, they're arrested. No one called ICE. And so it goes on and on and on. So I blame several people. I blame the governor of New York, Governor Hochul, who pushed bail reform, so people are being released straight from the precincts. And I blame the city council to New York City, because they are shutting down any cooperation with ICE. Again, we're so close to getting to Rikers Island so we can arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a jail rather than release him in the community, which is going to be another community threat. City council shut it down through lawsuits. So Letitia James, dead wrong on this.
Yeah, and, a CBP officer lucky to be alive, thanks to New York City policies after he was shot by that illegal alien. Tom, well, I know that you've vowed to flood the zone there in New York City. We'll keep an eye and see what happens. Appreciate your time, sir.
Appreciate it. And yes, we are going to flood the zone.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmer.
Yeah, it's crazy what's happening in New York City and just all around our country with this illegal activity. It's illegal activity. And we literally have lawyers defending and advocating for illegal activities. She keeps trying to say, well, there are some innocent people. No, they're not innocent. They're criminals. Just like I was saying the other day, if you choose to come here illegally, you've broken the social contract. You have basically said, I do not care about the country that I'm coming into. I'm never respect your laws and give me what I'm entitled to. What? Like, that's their attitude. It is so crazy. And Tatas, thank you for reposting the stream. And also, Wella, thank you so much for reposting the stream this morning. I mean, this is what we're doing. I'm not doing it, but we have other people around the country doing it. And like I said, advocating for it. You saw in that video where Letitia James is literally saying, yes, there's criminals, but there's innocent people too. The people that are your nannies. Why would I want my nanny to be a criminal? Why would I hire a criminal to watch my kids? Like, it's insane. It's like, what really happened? And this is the same person that'll stand up and be like, yeah, no one's above the law and we have to follow the rule of law. These are some of her things that she said. But it only applies when it's somebody that you want to destroy. And that's what I see with this individual, the AG Letitia James. If she wants to destroy somebody, then it's all about the rule of law and how that person needs to follow the law. But when it's something that she's advocating for, no matter if it's criminal or not, she'll justify it. And that's a dangerous person. We have dangerous people in these positions and they need to be voted out, period. Hey, Shawnee, filmmaker, thank you so much for reposting the stream. We need to make demands on these public officials, because an attorney general position within your state is an elected position. And there's 25 of them bringing forth a lawsuit demanding federal funds for illegal criminals. Yeah, let me say that again. 25 of our 50 states are demanding that criminals be funded with social services. I'm ready for people to go to jail. Title 18, Section 1324. I want every single one of those AGs because that's evidence. They cannot stand back and say, well, oh no, I wasn't advocating for it. No, you put forth a whole lawsuit. That's the evidence right there. Trying to justify giving taxpayer dollars to illegal criminals. They're all criminals, period. Criminal activity is like sin. There's nothing great or small. It's all sin. It's all criminal, period. Whether you stole a pack of gum or you shot somebody in the face, it's still criminal behavior, period. It doesn't matter. And that's how we need to start treating criminal activity. Now, there might be levels of consequences, right? Depending on the criminal activity. But it all still is criminal activity, and it does come with a consequence, period. And we need, absolutely need to put pressure on all of our politicians because, they are politicians. They're not servants of the people. If we got some servants of the people, we need to find them and implore them to shut this down, to stop advocating for criminal activity. And we need to root out all of these elected officials that are advocating for illegal criminals. And we need to, again, put pressure on the DOJ to say they need to be investigated under Title 8, Section 1324. We need to do that. Because if we don't, we're just going to end up with a lot of people that shouldn't be here. And that's going to be our fault. It's not going to be anybody else's fault. It'll be on us. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to check out All Sides and just look into some of the articles that are posted and see what's going out on the world today. But thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News on Prayer with Fridays.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased news doesn't exist. To get more clicks and make more money, media outlets often report news with a left, right, or sensational slant, either to suit their own agenda or because by telling us what we want to hear, we'll come back for more. Several news outlets in the center do a good job of portraying both sides equitably, but for the most part, American news media is biased. Bias isn't necessarily a bad thing. The key is to get multiple perspectives. But making matters worse, social media and internet search results are heavily filtered, showing us the most popular opinion or results that match our preferences and make us happy. That means we're all living in filter bubbles, where we're only exposed to viewpoints we already agree with, making us less informed and less tolerant of different people and ideas. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides has created a patented, fair, transparent process to rate the media bias of hundreds of news outlets and writers. We assess each media source and rate them as far left, lean left, center, lean right, or far right, allowing you to quickly identify different perspectives. All Sides is constantly evolving our media bias engine. The more you participate, the better our ratings will be, and the better our news coverage will be. Go to allsides.com to get involved.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And I wanted to thank Cajun Lady for reposting the stream and also saying good morning. Good morning to you, Cajun Lady. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. So while a lot of things are going on, let's get back to, what I like, the economy. Let's get back to some, kitchen table issues. So Trump pressures Fed to cut rates, clashes with Powell over renovation costs. Okay, well, let's get into it. Because I would be okay if Jerome Powell was no longer head of the Federal Reserve. I'd be okay with the Federal Reserve actually being gone forever. Um, yeah, but that's just me. Because it's not a federal agency. They made the name up so they would sound super important, but they can harm the United States, which is really sad. It truly, truly is. So it says, in a rare visit to the Federal Reserve, President Donald Trump voiced his criticism of renovation costs to the institution's headquarters, which the White House has accused of mismanaging. The visit marks an escalation of Trump's pressure on Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. So here's the details. Trump and Powell got into a public dispute during the tour, with Trump stating the cost had escalated from an estimated $2.5 billion to $3.1 billion. This is just renovations, y'all. This is just sprucing up the office. What? Billions of dollars? What are we doing? This is crazy to me. So Powell disagreed, noting the president was citing a separate building whose construction was completed 5 years ago. This visit comes ahead of the Fed's meeting at which policymakers are expecting to vote to leave interest rates unchanged. Trump has repeatedly urged Powell to lower interest rates, a move that Powell has resisted, saying the economy is stable enough to maintain current interest rates. Yeah. Yeah, because see, you're living okay. But the rest of us are making up the shortfall. And that's my problem with the Federal Reserve. It's like they completely hamstring the country whenever they feel like it. Literally whenever they feel like it, without any justification. And they say, "Oh yeah, we have the numbers." It's like, you guys are doing fine. We don't need to. Really? We're not doing fine. Nobody's doing fine. And see, these corporations, they keep, crying out, "Hey, we need help." You guys are also, claiming record profits. Yeah, because you're not doing right by the American people. It's really crazy what's happening outside. So, for context, Trump has suggested he might fire Powell, a move analysts say could potentially rock financial markets. However, later walked back the claims. Powell was appointed as Federal Reserve Chairman by Trump in 2017 and renominated by former President Joe Biden. All right. Renovations at the headquarters led to higher than expected costs after the project hit several roadblocks, including higher than expected groundwater and around the site, asbestos and toxic contamination in the soil. So this is how the media covered it. Wall Street Journal, which is center-biased, outlined the renovations and why cost increased. It described the current state of the work site, explaining the timeline and decision-making processes behind the project. NPR, that leans left, and Epoch Times, that lean right, both focused on Trump and Powell's exchange during the visit and the de-escalation afterwards. NPR wrote, Trump appeared to avoid delving into his recent criticisms of Powell. It also highlighted pushback against Trump from the Fed. Epoch Times mentioned the annual federal interest payments exceeded $1 trillion last year and is expected to top $1 trillion again in fiscal year 2025. Wow. We are paying interest payments of $1 trillion a year. And we wonder why the federal deficit keeps getting higher. I'm telling you, something's got to give. Something has got to give. We need, sorry about that. We need better people in office that really care about the country. Interesting that, I refreshed this and it comes back with California's green energy ambitions floundering or the future. I would say floundering because they keep doing this whole green thing and like the big wind turbines, they call those like fan graves in California because they can't do anything with them. When they die, they die. They can't fix them. They cannot fix them. So they're just there, taking up space. And where are they going to remove them? There's no process in place to recycle any of this stuff. So it's just there, just sitting there. You can't use it. Like I said, you can't use it, and you can't fix it, and you can't destroy it. So what are we doing? The worst. So California is one of the largest oil producers in the United States, though in recent years, the state has pivoted towards green energy, drawing commentary from officials and commentators on the state of the program. So here's Newsom's stance. In a guest editorial published in the Wall Street Journal Opinion, which is leaning right biased, California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom noted that more than 2/3 of California's electricity now comes from clean sources, such as solar, wind, and geothermal, and made the case that this is the path to a more secure, affordable, and healthy future. Newsom encouraged other states to follow California's leads, which he was on track until President Trump came along, he added. Mr. Trump and Republicans want to take us back to the days of dirty coal and lung cancer, but the future is and always will be cheap, abundant, clean power. Well, hate to break it to you, sir. Wrong. If that was the case, then why isn't it working? It doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other uses that could work alongside oil and coal and other natural resources. But it's not working. And your state's in shambles. He's a really interesting human. So, unsustainable future. In an opinion for Fox News, right, Daniel Turner ran through 3 reasons California green energy campaign is dying on the vine. He cited a rising gas tax, the closing of oil refineries, and extreme green policies, such as forcing drivers into electric vehicles, as the 3 main prongs of his argument. Turner framed his analysis through the following context. Blessed with incredible natural resources, the Golden State has the highest living costs in the nation. Nowhere is this trend more evident than in energy, where there is a direct correlation between Newsom's wrong-headed policies and overall unaffordability. And not wrong. Not wrong at all. Hey, Unc, thank you so much for reposting the space. Because to their point, yeah, they've got most of the natural resources, but they're not using them. But they're trying to use other resources that aren't working as efficiently. And they want the taxpayers to pay for it. The money's got to come from somewhere. But you would rather people pay for it than use the natural resources to actually bring in revenue so people aren't paying such a high price for where they live. Help me. Yeah, liberal views, these progressive views, this is why California is tanking, literally tanking, because they want everybody else to pay for it. They just do. And then what's supposed to happen at the end of this? What happens when the money stops? What are you doing? Yeah, I really do hope that California gets a better governor and they get some better representation within their state, because their state is falling apart and people are leaving the state in droves because they can no longer tolerate it. They have some of the highest illegal immigration in our country. Yeah, there is definitely a correlation. It's like, yeah, it's almost like if you want somebody to destroy your state, hey, these are the people who do it. And it's really, really sad. So I do want to look at this article. Trump's AI plan seeks to boost U.S. competitiveness and roll back regulations. Now, I know he's all about rolling back regulations, mainly so companies can, do what they do best: go out, create, make money, right? just, just get out there without having a lot of the red tape and jumping through so many hoops. The thing about AI is they really need to be careful how they utilize this tool and what types of, I should say, permissions and laws that they allow it, right? Or not allow it. We have to be protected as the American public. I am glad that they did take that provision out. Hopefully, the whole AI thing can be worked out in Congress, but it was removed from the big, beautiful bill, which is good. So, President Trump unveiled a strategy to promote U.S. innovation in artificial intelligence, which aims to remove regulatory obstacles and address perceived bias. The 28-page AI action plan outlines over 90 policy actions officials say can be implemented within a year. It calls for building data center infrastructure, promoting American technology, and encouraging AI use across government and private sectors. The plan also advocates for repealing policies that hinder AI development, including loosening copyright rules Trump calls unrealistic and harmful to U.S. competitiveness. Trump is expected to sign 3 related executive orders, including one targeting what the administration deems as woke and ideologically biased AI systems. Wow. Okay, this is going to be intense to see, but I want to look at, the data center infrastructure. I know that I went over an article a couple weeks ago, like here in Georgia, for example, and I didn't realize this until I read the article, that there's so much water that's used with these data centers. But here's the problem: that water isn't being recycled to be reused. It's just being dumped. And now we got to find out what chemicals are in this water and how it's affecting the water supply to the residents that are around these data centers. See, a lot of times when some of these things are implemented, they don't talk about that side downstream. And even if the EPA came in, all the EPA can do is note it. How are they enforceable? Right? What can they do? Can they shut down Meta and say, okay, you can no longer run your business because you're damaging the water supply? That's a regulation. And those are the things that, we can't get so caught up in, hey, let's make all this money without thinking downstream. You have to think about the entire process and say, okay, well, if we're going to have something that's going to be filtered back out, basically like trash, what do we do with this trash so we can recycle it so it can continue in a continuous ecosystem? We have the technology to do it. It's demanding that the companies use that type of technology. That's what we have to do and make sure that our voices are heard. So for context, the Trump administration perceives the expansion of AI infrastructure as a strategy to outpace China in AI. Former President Biden had previously signed an executive order calling for safety and security standards in the use of AI within the federal government. But this order was rescinded by Trump on his first day in office. So here's the thing. That whole safety and security standards, it really wasn't based at the companies. It was kind of based at people, and it was weird. And you'd have to look back and see it, but it really wasn't about helping grow the economy. It literally was going to hurt people. So I'm glad it was rescinded, but they always make it seem like, oh no, it's like, like I said, in totality, you do have to think about the safety and security. But the safety and security that they're talking about under Biden, I'm glad it was rescinded because it actually gave AI more power than it was supposed to have. So this is how the media covered it. So for Fox Business, that leans right biased, wrote Trump is going all in on AI and included support from Meta's chief global affairs officer, Joel Kaplan, who praised Trump's bold strategy. Of course you would. You're damaging water everywhere. Of course you would. You're not being held accountable for it. Come on, sir. It framed the plan as innovative and beneficial for job growth. Politico that leans left highlighted Trump's criticism of copyright regulations, but noted officials said the issue should be left to the courts to decide. It also cited concerns over the plan's approach to federal permitting and oversight roadblocks in close alignment with the tech industry. BBC that center noted Trump's past actions on AI and quoted the White House saying, with the right policies, the U.S. can lead AI and secure a brighter future for all Americans. It also quoted crypto czar David Sachs saying, the plan will monitor for emerging and unforeseen risks from AI. I wanted to go back to something. It says Trump's criticism of copyright regulations, but noted officials. Okay. Yeah, because the copyright situation it has to be upheld because what has been happening, China will come in and, steal intellectual property. I mean, that's just how they've done, or they'll remake it. But here's the thing with copyrights that people sometimes don't understand. Unless even in certain instances you can file for an international copyright, it's still subject to be revised or implemented in a different way. And so this is how people are able to steal intellectual property. Now, if you just do it at the state level, right, within the United States, they can just come in and re-implement it, right, and call it something else, tweak a few things, and then file a patent. And so this is how a lot of intellectual property is taken and revised and regurgitated and, sent back. Oh, and Cajun Lady says, good morning. And she's got the red, white, and blue. Thank you so much, Cajun Lady. So yeah, intellectual property is important, in my opinion, because it's the difference between, people benefiting off the backs of others or the individual that actually put in the hard work benefiting. Just saying. I want, because I'm a paralegal, I want people to be protected, especially their ideas when they're trying to contribute. The AI development, including loosening copyright rules, And yeah, and it is unrealistic and it is harmful to U.S. competitiveness. But when he's talking about those type of copyright rules, he's talking about more on an international level, and just how I described how other countries are able to, make certain tweaks and, use our intellectual property, but they'll make it harder for U.S. companies to get those copyrights. It happens. And that's where he's talking about that loosening. So I just wanted people to understand he's not saying, yeah, we'll just give them everything. It's like, no, you need to make it kind of easier for Americans to get these patents and not make it more difficult for them to get the patents, but you have the application on file and then somehow, oh my gosh, somebody over here in a whole different country, they came up with the same idea, but the person over here can't even get the patent for it. It's that stuff. And those things have been happening for a long time and it needs to stop. I mean, now that we're in this race for AI, we're here. I'm just saying we're here. So again, I need somebody to come up with an ecosystem for this dirty water that all these data centers push out. I'm thinking about reaching out to an individual that I've seen on Instagram who has actually learned how to turn trash into fuel successfully. And I'm praying, I pray for his safety all the time because he is truly amazing. And I want to, pick his brain and have him on the show and to be like, can we turn this dirty water into clean water? If we can, cool. How do we do it? How do we do it? Oh, and Cajun Lady says, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. So we have some of the most brilliant people out there. I was actually thinking about this other young man. He is into hydroponics. I think he lives somewhere here in Georgia. I remember seeing him online, and he's so smart, so intelligent, and I think about him and I'm like, wow, he could be teaching other children and adults how to even have an indoor garden or outdoor garden and really teaching us how to be more independent, right? Oh, and Cajun Lady says, brilliant young man. He is. He is. So those are two people that, I want to have them on the show and I want to share, their background and also share what we could do, right? What we can do as a society to contribute more to benefit one another. Like I was having a conversation, kind of back and forth on the show last week. I was talking about having a walking garden. Like that would be so cool to have walking gardens again and the trees, orange trees, apple trees, lemon trees, have people plant them along the roads in their front yards. So as we're walking, we have the fruits and vegetables available. Like I said, growing up in Orange County, California, we have fruit trees everywhere. And we always had access to fresh fruit without any pesticides, just beautiful fresh fruit. And then somewhere down the line, state regulations, again, the government came in and said, you can't do that. Why not? It's fresh. There's no GMOs. Oh, that's why. Because it's fresh. And there's no GMOs. And you want to control people in how they move. Yeah. Our government has really gotten out of control. And that's why, Redemption Party, we focus on limiting federal government to empower local government. And what that means, that doesn't mean having a sanctuary city, by the way. No. What that means is having people in place to care for the people that they represent and actually do the job, right? And Tata says that's how it was growing up for me in Central Florida. Yeah, you'd walk home from school and you just grab an orange, right? And Cajun Lady says it's all about controlling the masses. And that's what they want to do. That truly is. Keep low level IQ masses. And the elites are just like, yes, we'll tell you what to do. And they are some of the most low IQ people I've ever seen on the planet. I'm like, wow, y'all are cracking me up. And Unc says, good morning. Hashtag UVN, my wake up social media news platform. Oh, thank you so much, Unc. I appreciate it. So, let's see. This is interesting. So U.S. home sales hit with 9-month low. Prices continue to rise. So despite being the height of the spring housing season, U.S. home sales dropped last month, while the median price hit a record high, pushing potential buyers out of the market. So in June, sales of existing homes dropped by 2.7% from the previous month, while the median home price at $435,300 hit a record high, according to the National Association of Realtors. This slump in the housing market is due to a combination of higher mortgage rates and economic uncertainty, which is deterring potential buyers. This has led to a drop in residential investment and a deepening housing market slump. So you know how Trump, met with Jerome Powell. He's been fussing at him like, hey, you need to lower the interest rates. You need to lower the interest rates. The reason why he's trying to do that is because by lowering those interest rates, people will be able to actually buy homes. And when that happens, you've actually got more money kind of flooding the market, right? and it is this trigger effect when the market is like, oh, there's more people buying homes, there's more things being sold. And sometimes that actually does drive the price down because more people can afford it, right? Supply and demand. And, when the demand goes down and there's the supply goes up, you get those sales. We just got to see what they're going to do. Luckily my children are, in a good position, but not everybody's kids are. I want young people to be able to buy their homes, not look for renting their homes. But this is interesting because now what happens to the whole BlackRock Vanguard situation? Cajun lady says Powell is infected with TDS. Yeah, he is. It's unfortunate. If anybody missed it, I want to say he and Maxine Waters had an exchange right before the inauguration. And she was just like, so if you meet with the president, are you going to listen to him? And I was just like, what is wrong with you? Like, you are really wild. But that's when she kind of said, it was a Freudian slip, they're going to find out what we're doing or something to that effect. I was like, yeah, you are wild. You are. Occasional ladies gave it a little bit of chuckle. It was wild. But these are part of the things that, President Trump, he's definitely trying to flood the market with good mortgages, not bad mortgages, right? Because we don't want to do another repeat of the housing market bubble crash. But he's trying to get those interest rates lowered so there can be more of a stabilization of actual home buyers, not companies buying these homes and then turning around and renting them out, but actual home ownership for our young people that are getting married and starting their families. Oh, Patty Cakes, thank you so much for reposting the stream. So for context, the U.S. housing market is the economic sector most sensitive to interest rates. Despite accounting for less than 5% of gross domestic product, it has a larger economic footprint through purchases of furniture. That's like I was saying, the stuff that goes in the house, appliances, and other related activities. Prolonged decline in the housing market could potentially impact the broader economy. Home listings in June reached a record 698 million, and President Trump's big beautiful bill slates millions of acres of federal land to be sold for housing development over the next 5 years, which is awesome. So they're releasing a lot of land back to the people, which, it does belong to us. So this is how the media covered it. So Fox News, that leans right bias, focused more on the high record home prices and how these are putting more pressure on an already strained market. The outlet noted that wealthier buyers are purchasing higher priced homes, while first-time home buyers are being priced out of the entry-level options. On the other hand, the New York Times that leans left cited affordability as the main issue, saying that potential buyers are hesitant to make large purchases in an uncertain economy. The report also mentioned that about 15% of June deals fell apart, a record high for the month, suggesting buyers' skittishness. Daily Mail, which is right, painted a more alarming picture, suggesting an imminent house price drop across all of America due to a collapse in sales at the highest rate on record. Wow. The Sun Belt has become ground zero for canceled deals, according to the article, and power has shifted towards buyers in the current real estate market. Yeah, it is definitely, it can be a buyer's market depending on your financial situation, but not everybody's financial situation is the same. And I can see why some buyers are skittish because, with certain industries that are affected by AI, I know a lot of these people are looking long term. It's like, will I have the same kind of job in 10 years to afford this house? Right? I mean, that's real. Those are real tabletop conversations. But where I live here in Georgia, is what's so crazy is they're building a lot of these homes that look like townhomes. And it's like you can buy it or you can lease it. And so I know that's a lot of the whole Vanguard BlackRock situation that came in and happened. And they bought up whole communities of these houses and they're just renting them back to people. So people really aren't having that first time home buyer, it might be a 1/4 acre lot there and it's their own house. That dream is fleeting because people don't know where they're going to be working in the next 5 to 10 years to afford a house and you've got a 30-year mortgage. It's crazy. It's so insane. And, like I said, President Trump, he's doing any and everything he can to stabilize our economy while we've got all these distractions out there, y'all. The distractions, they just keep on coming. Because what else are we going to do, right? You got to do something, because if people knew what was going on, they really started paying attention to the housing prices. They really started paying attention to what's happening with our energy sector. They really started paying attention to what's going on with AI. The pressure would be mounting. So, like I've always said, with the whole thing with Epstein and P. Diddy, and now even with Obama, if you're not going to arrest them, what are we doing? Because if you're going to arrest them, you got to arrest a whole bunch of other people. Like, get your affairs in order, people. You know who you are. But at that point, okay, you arrest them. So what is that doing for the economy? It doesn't affect or change my life. It might put a stain on the country, sorry. But at the end of the day, is it really affecting my life? The kitchen table topics. The food on the table. Yeah. And Cajun Lady says, so many distractions. Look over here. Yeah. Wagging the dog hard. I mean, they have been wagging the dog like, whoo. Super, super duper crazy. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll have our Prayer with Friday segment. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, and we'll see you on the other side.
The browsers of today are broken. They've been overtaken by a barrage of sneaky and annoying ads, trackers that follow your habits, and cookies that build profiles, and all sorts of other internet clutter that's taking precedence over the content that you want to see. In fact, these useless bites can take up to a whopping 50% of page load times, with a third of it anxiously trying to learn more about you. To make matters worse, some ad blockers are even letting ads through when large advertisers pay them. But do you really want a leaky ad blocker? It's because of these very reasons that we developed Brave, a new browser that kicks internet crud to the curb and makes it faster, safer, and better to surf the web than your current browser. With Brave, everything you need is built right in. We integrated technology that automatically blocks trackers, annoying ads, and shields everything that can cramp your style and destruct your privacy. With it, you can expect increased speeds nearly 2 times faster on laptops and up to 4 times faster on mobile. And unlike any other browser, Brave allows you to support your favorite publishers with automatic micropayments, so it's a win-win for you and your favorite sites. To top it all off, Brave is open source, because we truly believe it's our web and we need to fix it together. So ask yourself this question: do you want a web browser made for the internet of today? If so, try Brave. It's faster, safer, and ad-free.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and it is our Prayer with Friday. And I wanted to just bring this back to everybody's attention that we are going to be having a large prayer here in the state of Georgia in Henry County, where many churches are going to be coming together. And it says, join the Pray for Schools movement. So even if you are not in the state of Georgia, wherever you are at around the country, you can participate in here on with Prayer for Schools, and it's pray4schools.org. And they have suggestions of what to pray. There's resources. I'm on the home screen right now. It says your church's participation matters. And here's about the movement. So schools face serious challenges, violence, fear, and struggle. Let me make sure I've got this bigger. Whoop. Sorry about that. Make this a little bit bigger. Whoops. 175 is good. Now you guys can see it a little bit better because it was very tiny. So it says schools face serious challenges, violence, fear, and struggle. Threaten education. As pastors and community leaders, we must unite and pray to overcome this spiritual battle. Through faith, we can restore peace, safety, and hope in our schools. Let our prayers build a brighter, safer future for every child. We are seeking to unite churches all over our county, right, or country, in prayer at every public school in our county on the same day. At the same time, no leader, no agenda, just prayer. And they left the scripture, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. And we truly need healing in our land. And so tomorrow, July 26th at 9 a.m., we invite you to join us in praying for a school in your area. Our audacious goal is to ensure every public school in Henry County, and my goal is sharing with you guys across the country, is adopted by a church and covered with prayers for protection, peace, and positive change. So join, and here's where you can click to join the movement. Again, you don't have to be in Henry County, Georgia. You can be in Los Angeles, California, and I'm sure it's needed there. You can be in New York City, New York. You can be in Chicago, Illinois. You know, those are 3 areas where it's needed. You can be in Austin, Texas. You can be anywhere in the country to pray for our babies and their teachers and the other administrators that collectively come together every year to ensure the education of our children. You know, we saw some good things come out of the school year last year. And these are some of the churches that are registered for 2025. And these are just the churches that are predominantly in Henry County, Georgia. But again, we have churches that can be from anywhere around the world, really. You just don't have to be here in America. You can be around the world or anywhere in the United States. And here's my church, Stockbridge Community Church, and my wonderful pastor, Pastor Jeff Dawes. This is something that God put on his heart that he really wanted to, put in place, and it's growing and it's going. I'm so excited. And it says, we need you. Your participation will be a testament to the unshakable faith and resilience of our community, a beacon of hope for our children, and a clear message to the forces of darkness. Register now to take part in this momentous occasion. The future of our schools, our children, and our community is in our hands, and together we can guide it towards the light. The one thing I do appreciate about my pastor is he's all about personal responsibility. It's up to us to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do in the community to make our community better. We're not going to be sitting around waiting for people to fix it for us. We're going to go out and find out where are the gaps, where are the places that we can fill in to make this better. So it says the Prayer for Schools movement is about more than prayer. It's about unity, hope, and the courage to believe that together we can make a difference. Your prayers matter. Your faith matters. Together, let's create a brighter future for our schools. And this is Prayer for Schools because together we can triumph. And that's just so, so amazing and awesome. And again, just to see this grow and develop, because it was just put on our pastor's heart. And he said, you know what, we're going to go out, we're going to pray for schools, and we're not just going to do it. We're going to include other churches. And it was so funny because he was like, trying to get pastors together. It's like wrangling spiders. And we were like, yeah, we can understand that. But it was so cool to just see it come together. Because a couple of years ago, I'm just saying politically, the climate was very different than it is now. And a lot of things going on in the schools people didn't know about, and it started coming out, and parents were horrified to find out what their children were learning. And now we have the opportunity to really make sure that our children are learning, they're reading, they're writing, they're learning math, right? And our prayers are being answered. God is listening to us. So we need to make sure that we are, standing in the forefront and really having faith that God's going to hear us, right? According to 2 Chronicles 7:14. And again, I'm going to read it. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, I will heal their land. So God's waiting for us to call out for him. And when we do that, he will heal our land. It's like, just remember, do you have that kind of faith? And I went to this how to pray segment, or what to pray. So if you want to participate, and here's the deal. Even if it's just you in your county, and you're the only person in your county doing this prayer, you're praying for the city and the county, that's all it takes. It starts with one. So just remember to prepare your heart, walk alone or with a group. You can pray in your car. You can walk around the school. You can pray out loud. You can use Bible scriptures, God's promises and songs. Seek God's guidance through the Holy Spirit. Anybody can do this. It is not something that's limited. It's what I like to call limitless, right? And, I'm just going to go over these. But number one, you can pray for protection against violence, sickness, and disease. You can pray for identity, praying for the teachers and the staff, praying for Christian students, teachers, and staff. Pray an open door. Pray for truth. Pray for our commitment. And these are just some of the subjects that you can pray on, or you can pray for whatever's going on in your city or county that's needed. I usually do a prayer with segment every Friday, as some of you guys that are in my community know, because I want to make sure that we are praying cover and Thanksgiving going into the weekend. Because a lot of times, we get so caught up in our week, and then by the time we know it, we're at Sunday and we're at church, and then we're just back at it again. But we really don't stop to really thank God, like, thank you for getting me to Friday. And as we go into the weekend, really praying that Thanksgiving and cover, because there's so many things going on, so that we can get to Sunday and really just rest in that worship time. So with that, I'm going to say just a quick prayer for us, and also, for the prayer with schools that we're going to be having tomorrow. So God, thank you so much for just, bringing us all here collectively online, wherever we are, where people are listening or they're viewing on Facebook or YouTube or X. Father, I really, truly pray that the prayer with schools event that we have tomorrow, that you're just going to help those individuals that are praying for the schools to come with their faith, God, that you will heal our land, that you will hear our voices, Father, that you know how some of the hearts out there are hurting, God, that some of our children are hurting, Father, and I'm praying, for their school year this year as they go back in through those doors, that they have the confidence that they need, that you will heal their hearts, that you will hear their tears in their pain, God, and bring them up out of that. And give them somebody to talk to, Father, to help guide them so they can help others that might, be going through the same thing. And really be with the teachers and the principals and the other administrators that participate with our children, that are teaching our children, that we have, entrusted with our children, God. Please watch over them. Watch over their hearts. Help guide them to do the right thing by our children. Father, I pray that every school around the country, God, that we get back to the education of our children, just reading and writing and math, God, and getting the activism out of the schools, Father, again, and just getting back to the fundamentals, so that this generation coming up, Father, they'll be able to do more than we could do, right? But do it in a way that's productive and not destructive, Father. I'm really, truly praying that those that are faith-based within our schools, that you continue to encourage their hearts, even when they get down and discouraged, that they remember that you are with them, Father, and that, when they turn their hearts back towards you, that you will hear them and you will heal the land that they're on and in within the school system, God. These are things that we pray for, Father, and that we know that you are going to do, because we have faith that you're going to do it. And it's in Jesus' name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Thank you guys for, joining us here on our Prayer with Fridays. And we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you on the other side. And thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered, Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and we just finished our Prayer With segment. So thank you so much for joining us for that. So now we're going to get back into the news. And I noticed this article. It said that Columbia University to pay the Trump administration $200 million settlement to restore federal funding. Wow. Okay. So Columbia University has agreed to pay $200 million to the Trump administration to settle multiple federal civil rights investigations following allegations of anti-Semitism and discriminatory practices. Okay. This is interesting. So for the details, the Trump administration suspended $400 million in grants to Columbia in March, accusing the university of failing to address ongoing harassment of Jewish students. In response, Columbia has agreed to a set of demands from the Trump administration, including new oversight measures. The new settlement will restore most of the federal funds, as well as Columbia's access to billions of dollars in current and future grants for research funding. So, as a key quote, President Trump wrote, "The agreement marks an important step forward after a period of sustained federal scrutiny and institutional uncertainty." Acting University President Claire Shipman said in a statement, Columbia has also it's kind of weird, committed to ending their ridiculous DEI policies, admitting students based only on merit, and protecting civil liberties of their students on campus. So for context, Columbia was one of several universities criticized by the Trump administration following students' protests over the war in Gaza. These protests were deemed anti-Semitic by some Republican lawmakers. The university has also agreed to reforms, including enhanced campus protest rules and a shift in disciplinary authority from faculty to administrators. Ooh. So this is how the media covered it. Fox News, right bias, emphasized the Trump administration's role in securing the settlement, framing it as a win against anti-Semitism. NBC News, that leans left, focused on the pressure exerted by the Trump administration on Columbia and other universities and presented the settlement as a resolution to a period of sustained federal scrutiny and institutional uncertainty. The BBC detailed both the allegations leading to the funding cuts and the terms of the settlement. Well, I'm glad it happened. Wow. It's just, it's the money that's spent. And, it'd be nice if there were some other universities that the money was spent on as well. But what I'm learning and finding out with a lot of these universities, they've become activism mills, if I can kind of coin that phrase. They're spitting out activists. They're not really giving us the best. I'm not saying that all of our young people that have come from there aren't, but it's sad when, just for example, in an earlier segment, I was talking about, the attorney generals and these different attorneys. How do you have a mindset to advocate for illegal activity when the whole premise of you being an attorney is to uphold the law? It's not your position to be an activist, right? In advocating the law, you're supposed to uphold it and ensure and make sure that your clients, whoever your clients are well represented. And we right now have attorneys advocating for criminal activity. and demanding that these people are compensated and that they are cared for. It is crazy to me because I'm like, first of all, that is treasonous behavior because, you're aiding and giving aid and comfort to people who've invaded our country. But outside of that, you're violating federal law under Title 8, Section 1324, because you are outright harboring and giving aid and comfort to people who are here illegally in your country, and you're advocating for them. It doesn't make sense, but this is what these universities are turning out. They're turning out these people. And these people are now working in the public sector, and you see them in high-level positions, and it's just like, when did this happen? How? Because we allowed it. That's why. It's been allowed. It's been allowed for a long time. And no one said a really simple word. No. That was something that my pastor talked about last Sunday. He shared a really heartfelt story about a young woman, and since a situation happened, I won't get into details, with her parents. And she asked the pastor, why didn't my parents just say no? Why didn't they protect me? Why didn't they say no? Because a lot of times parents think, well, if I say yes and I allow this, my child's going to love me, and they'll think highly of me, and they'll be okay. But sometimes you got to just say no. And this is one of those moments in our nation's history where we have to really be on top of telling people no. We really need to be on top of saying, we're not tolerating that. We're not putting up with that. You're not going to do that here. Now, there are plenty of other countries, if you want to advocate for illegal activity, they're doing it and they're okay with it. So maybe you would fit in better over there. But we are a nation of laws. We have a constitution. We have laws to protect us. But we unfortunately have a generation and a whole band of individuals that call themselves really smart, and some of them are attorneys, that are advocating for illegal activity, and they no longer can put the genie back in the bottle. The toothpaste is out of the tube. They cannot take these words back. But as the general public, we need to start holding these individuals to account and pressing and filing charges against them to remove them from office. We cannot tolerate this. We can't. It cannot stand anymore. So I wanted to go over this. It says Trump's EPA says humans not in danger from greenhouse gases. Now, of course, we've had a lot of people talk about climate change. A lot on climate change. But let's check this out. It says, under President Trump, the Environmental Protection Agency drafted a proposal to revoke the government's finding that air pollution and burning fossil fuels is a danger to humans. Okay. So for the details, the 2009 determination that climate change and greenhouse gases pose a danger to the public is the foundation for myriad environmental regulations under the Clean Air Act, including regulations on vehicle tailpipe emissions, coal and gas-fired power plants, and methane released by the oil and gas industry. So key quotes, by overhauling massive rules on the endangerment finding, we are driving a dagger through the heart of climate change religion and ushering in America's golden age, said EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. So here's how the media covered it. NPR, that leans left, included the context that this potential repeal comes in the wake of the hottest year humans have ever recorded on Earth. Climate-fueled wildfires that destroyed thousands of homes in Los Angeles and hotter ocean temperatures that made Hurricane Helene stronger. The Hill, which is center, added that this move comes despite a conscientious form, I'm sorry, a consensus, there we go, from the scientific community that human activity, especially its use of fossil fuels, is heating up the planet. Blaze Media, that's right, included comments from critics such as climate change groups, as well as perspectives from Trump administration officials who support the proposal. Blaze Media quoted Energy Secretary Chris Wright saying the 2009 endangerment finding has had an enormously negative impact on the lives of the American people. And here's what I find interesting. We're building more homes. We're tearing down more trees, and we wonder why it's getting hotter. We're putting in more concrete, and we wonder why it's getting hotter. We're using cloud seeding, and we wonder why there's more rain. Okay, look. Some of this is just self-inflicted. It is. It's self-inflicted. There's got to be balance. There has to be balance. And what we've seen things out of balance. You know, the whole climate change, it is a religion. Because it's like, if you don't believe them, it's more of a cult. If you don't believe them, then it's like, oh my gosh, you're one of those people. And it's like, no, look, I'm just being realistic about it. If a human does something, there's going to be the cause and effect. Again, if you put in more cement and you take out grass, it's going to be hotter. Cause and effect. I mean, it's real simple. It's real simple. But see, the same people that complain about it, they fly jets, put jet fuel in the air. Same people complain about it. They got a 10,000 square foot house. Same people complain about it. I can go on, right? The complainers are not the people that don't have money. They have money. And they're usually the cause of a lot of these things. But yet they're out there, with their cold screaming climate change. There's a cause and effect. No doubt. But what they're claiming the causes and effects are may not necessarily be, the right causes. Like I was saying, the whole metadata center, they use a lot of water and they need it to keep the data center cool. But nobody thought about, okay, what are we going to do with this old water? And in my opinion, I'm like, okay, Meta, you guys are a part of this whole climate change thing. Why didn't anybody think about putting in a recycling tank to recycle the water and keep the contaminants contained so they didn't affect the other outflowing water supply in your area? You don't care about your neighbors. But yeah, you guys are a part of this whole climate change thing. And it's that. It's that part. Why aren't you being more responsible? Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, the people that need to be more responsible usually aren't. They're usually the first people crying. And just, oh yeah. You some certain things you can miss me. You can miss me. You can miss me. Yeah, I'm just scrolling through. Some things I want to talk about, some things I don't want to. Oh my goodness. I don't even know if I want to get into that. That just seems weird. But I got to. I got to. Okay, U.S. to destroy contraceptives for women overseas worth millions of dollars. What? So the Trump administration reportedly set to destroy $10 to $13 million worth of contraceptives for women overseas by the end of July as part of its efforts to shut down the U.S. Agency of International Development, right? USAID, and avoid violating the Castine Amendment. So for the details, the U.S. State Department says it moved to destroy the contraceptives because they were obtained by the Biden administration in violation of the Kemp-Kasten Amendment, and eligible buyers had not purchased them. The department reportedly claimed the contraceptives already had a diminishing shelf life and would cost millions to distribute. The destruction is expected to cost taxpayers about $167,000. Okay, that's just weird. I'm like, $10 to $13 million. What? But here's the thing. It's going to cost somebody $10 to $13 million. It's going to cost $167,000. What I want to know is how much did we pay for somebody to make it? That's what I want to know. Is anybody else interested? Because I'm interested, but that's been left out. So who do we pay to make the contraceptives? Who was contracted to do this? Somebody made some money to make them, but we're leaving that whole grift out. Like I said, with some of these government contracts, it's such a grift. The grifting is real. It's crazy. So the Kemp-Kasten Amendment prohibits federal taxpayer funding of any program that supports or participates in the management of a program of coercive abortion or involuntary sterilization. So I guess that's what these contraceptives were. But we paid somebody to make them. And they're worth between $10 and $13 million. Like I said, I just want to know how much it costs these companies, because they have their money. Like, they're like, look, we made them. Here you go. Do your thing. Go unless it costs us less than $200,000 to destroy it. It's crazy. So this is how the media covered it. The Guardian left bias framed abortions as necessary medical procedures. The outlet, along with Reuters, the centers, used viewpoint bias by highlighting pro-choice sources. The Daily Wire, that's right, framed its courage more found around the State Department's defense and lacked any pro-choice sentiment. The Wire emphasized the role of the Kemp-Kasten Amendment, while Reuters and The Guardian did not. This story was not widely covered by news media, regardless of where they fell on the political spectrum. Most sources in coverage were unnamed. Yeah. Because what were they going to say? Because like I said, my question is, all right, you got the product. Who made the product? And how much money did they make? Because it was given to the Biden administration. They were obtained by the Biden administration. So who did they pay to make these things? What? It's, to me, and this is just me, that's money laundering. Somebody did that. That's a whole grift. So crazy. So we got a trade deal with Japan, which isn't bad. I also wanted to touch on this that I saw from a couple of days ago. It said the U.S. to increase logging 25% on federal lands. So the Trump administration plans to significantly boost logging and repeal protections of 58 million acres of national forest, opening them up to road construction, development, and increased timber production. So the details, the protections being repealed include the 2001 roadless rule that preserved the wild nature of nearly a third of the land in national forests in the United States. The areas to be opened included the Tongass National Forest in Alaska, the Reddish Knob in the Shenandoah Mountains, and acres adjacent to the Frank Church River of No Return in Wilderness in Ohio. In Idaho. Okay. Okay, so we got Alaska, Idaho. All right. I mean, interesting. So for context, President Trump has asked cabinet secretaries to bypass endangered species laws and other environmental protections to boost the domestic supply of timber. The move comes amidst ongoing debates about forest management, fire prevention, and the economic benefits of logging. The Trump administration argues the rule is outdated and that its repeal will usher in a new era of consistency and sustainability for our nation's forests. The move has been met with resistance from environmental groups, shocker, who fear that removing the protections could harm untouched landscapes and hurt wildlife. Well, they've been logging for a long time. And until the other protections came in, they weren't having as many wildfires because they were raking the land. And some of that raking of the land did produce a lot of, the logging material needed. So, yeah, some of the environmental groups, they're hurting the environment more than they're helping it, unfortunately. That's just my opinion. So the New York Times, that leans left bias, focused on the potential environmental damage from the decision, interviewing environmentalists arguing the repeal could destroy untouched landscapes and put drinking water at risk. Stop that. CBS News, that leans left, portrayed the response to the announcement as mixed, with some Oregonians, those are people who live in Oregon, celebrating the potential benefits for the logging industry and wildfire mitigation, while others expressed concerns about potential harm to the environment. Meanwhile, Fox News, that's right, emphasized the economic arguments for the decision, noting that the timber industry believes practices have changed since the 1990s and that wood products made with American timber are more environmentally and socially ethical. The outlet also highlighted claims that increased logging could help mitigate fire risk. Yeah, like I was saying, a lot of the timber that falls could be raked. Well, they stopped raking the forest sometimes after wildfires or after trees have fallen. And when you don't rake the forest, it actually builds more of a tinderbox, I should say, for wildfires going forward. So I'm really glad that this is something they are addressing. Sometimes, I don't even know. Like with everything going on, I definitely have to appreciate the Trump administration moving forward, getting things done, right? Like him or not, getting things done. Whether you're triggered by him or not, he's getting the job done. That's what I voted for. I voted for policy. I voted for policy to get us moving forward. So Trump's plan to reopen Alcatraz draws criticism and controversy. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, we do have to have a place to put people. We just do. But do we send them to Alcatraz? So President Donald Trump proposed the idea of potentially reopening Alcatraz. As a federal prison in May, Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum visited the former prison on Thursday and decided whether the proposal was feasible. So Trump's plan to reopen Alcatraz will cost around $2 billion, according to anonymous government sources cited by Axios. Leans left bias. Some critics argue that the plan is impractical and overly costly. Alcatraz housed some of the most notorious criminals in U.S. history. It was closed in 1963 by then Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy Sr. due to high operating costs and outdated technology. Currently, Alcatraz serves as a national park and tourist destination. So this is how the media covered it. Writers from both MSNBC, Left, and the Washington Examiner, that leans right, framed the plan as impractical, citing the high cost of logistical challenges involved in reopening Alcatraz. An opinion writer from MSNBC alleged that Trump's proposal is meant to create a horrifying spectacle out of degrading people whom he deems worthless, and characterized it as an example of his cruel and reactionary political style. An analysis writer for the Examiner framed Bondi's claims that escape from the prison is impossible as misleading and suggested that Trump's interest in the prison is driven more by its historical reputation than by any practical purpose. The writer, who credited Bondi's recent trip to the prison as nothing short of an orchestrated redirect by the administration that had taken heat over its handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. I'm not opposed to it because, yes, we do need some more prisons to be open. Yes, that it is historical prison. I don't know if leveling it and building up a new prison would do well, but there are a lot of people that need to be in there. I knew that. There's a lot of people in the House and the Senate that need to be. There's a lot of mayors that need to be there. There's a lot of people that just need to be in prison. Just saying. And they're walking our streets free. We do need a prison. Now, should it be Alcatraz? I think we can do better. I think we can build some better detention centers and just leave it to be it's a historical monument that it is. Let's not reopen Alcatraz. I would say let's let it be. Keep the historical artifacts where they are. Let's build a better prison, right? Because some of these people within our prisons need to be rehabilitated. They don't need to be treated and demeaned in a way that they cannot be reintroduced into society. Now, there are some people that are just violent criminals and murderers, and they just cannot be released into our society. Those kind of people I'd like to just send to El Salvador. Okay. Or just off the soil, period, out the country. You can go. So that's what I'm saying. Do we really need to reopen Alcatraz? Nah, we have better places that we can send people. I like El Salvador. I like that president down there. I think he's doing a great job, by the way. He really is. So, with this Prayer with Fridays, I just really want to thank you guys for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. Again, I got so much love yesterday because I had such a short stream and everybody's like, where are you at? What's going on? And it really made me feel just loved and appreciated. So I just want to thank you guys for, waking up early, 7 to 9 a.m., coming in, hearing me rant, giving you the information that's out there, and just really giving you some food for thought, how we can move forward in this country, the right way. We can get this done. We do have some people in authority that need to be voted out of office, and we're going to get it done. We're going to be the individuals that are running the election boards, right? So we make sure that we're having free and fair elections. We are going to be the individuals that are the councilmen and congresswomen and men. We're going to get this done. There is hope. So again, definitely make sure you check out Prayer for Schools, and that's prayer, the number 4 schools.org. And no matter where you are around the country, you can participate. We're going to be starting here at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But wherever you are, whatever time that is tomorrow, just participate. Whether that's 8 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just participate. So with that, we're going to close down the stream today, and this will end our week with Prayer with Fridays here on Unfiltered Vision News. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you soon.